Welcome back, everybody. This is Rich Giordano reporting for Third Phase. So, I'm here again with my partner, Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you for having me back, Rich. It's great to be here and see you as well.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, this is unbelievable what Third Phase of Moon, the Cousins brothers, Brett and Blake, are doing. They found it looks like a pyramid, and we're going to play it. But it's in the middle of nowhere in Hawaii, and they took a little hike to get there. If anybody hasn't seen it, you can check out the video on Third Phase of Moon, but we're gonna go over it here and talk about what they found because it's unbelievable. What did you see in this, Michael?
Well, I thought it was absolutely groundbreaking that they seemed to have found the structure in, the wilderness and had said that this was something that not many people knew about, or if anybody knew about it at all. So this is an incredible find, and who knows the archaeological implications, or if there was somebody who's been out there to study this area and could tell us more about what this might actually be.
According to Brent and Blake, because I asked him, has anybody ever been there that you know of? He's like, nobody would have found it. Nobody knows this. They've been there their whole lives. Nobody's ever spoken about it. It's not in any books. So this is a find, a historical find by Brett and Blake. It's crazy. Look how beautiful it is, though.
It's gorgeous. It seems to be an absolute paradise, and at one time probably was just that. I did think it was interesting that they had mentioned that they waited 3 years to go back to this location. Perhaps they were waiting to see who else might have known about it, or they just couldn't get out there. But, that's a considerable amount of time to remember how to get back to something like this so far into the woods.
Yeah, I don't know if they use GPS coordinates or what, but they know the island very well. And to find this 3 years ago tells us all, for people who live on a Hawaiian island, to find something that is, that it's in the middle of nowhere and it's been there forever. And these guys found it because they're, they make documentaries and stuff like that, and they look for places like this, and they stumbled upon it one day. I mean, look at this. The steps here. Is this are the steps man-made, or is it just, what do you see here? Is it natural?
That's sort of a great question, because clearly behind him, that structure does appear at first glance to be man-made. Now, leading up to it, there's a possibility that at one point that there were some sort of stairs that were set there, and, he mentions that there seems to be something across the stream as well. So perhaps this is part of an entire complex of different constructs that are left over from the days of the ancient Hawaiians. But, upon first glance, my thought is there's been plenty of time and weather that's obviously, traversed this landscape. And, there's a good possibility that the formation of the stairs in front of this pyramid object was much more formated. There had more form earlier on. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah. Well, absolutely, because, if they have any torrential rain over there, I'm sure it would flood and, eventually wear the rocks down. It depends how old it is, too. I mean, is it 800 years old? Is it 1,000? Is it?
Well, that's very interesting in trying to determine how old this structure might be, again, at first glance. This reminds me of the structures in Chichen Itza, Mexico, in respect to the fact that they are pyramids, but they all have this step-like architecture running throughout their design. So we're not looking at the smooth edges of, let's say the pyramids in Egypt, but we're seeing this more stepped formation, and I'm not really sure what that means, but I've seen this in other cultures as well. I believe the Aztecs used this sort of design too. But that being said, in terms of trying to determine maybe when this thing was constructed, maybe start and look and say, all right, there are similar designs here. Perhaps this is from the time period of the Mayans, or something along those lines.
It looks so unbelievable to me. It looks like a movie set, it looks like you could film Star Wars there. You could it's like a Romancing the Stone, or
well, like you said, Indiana Jones,
yeah. And that's what they're doing. This is what they do. They go out and look for this kind of stuff, historical finds, things that nobody else has ever touched in our lifetimes. It's amazing.
So
it's beautiful.
What would you say is one of the first things that makes you believe this might be man-made, Rich?
Well, you can definitely tell, unless it's aliens, but it's man-made because that's what we've seen in other pyramid structures. The Aztecs, Mayans, maybe, because they even mentioned it. It kind of has this Mayan type of feel to it, but I doubt it's that. I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows. It's not in any books. It's not anywhere you could find. Nobody's ever talked about this. That's what's remarkable about it. I don't know. It's amazing.
Something I would like to see is the Cousins brothers perhaps visiting other archaeological sites in around Hawaii to perhaps compare the composition of this structure versus some of the other ancient structures that are known to exist there and have their own history that we're more aware of. One of the things I'm seeing here it's really tough to tell, but you can tell that there are some big slabs that are being used in this construction. And at the same time, there seems to be some sort of dry stacking method that's being used as well, which was used in the ancient constructs and some of the walls that are still standing in Hawaii. Now, that being said, if the stones were chiseled and cut the way that they needed to be, the dry stacking method could very well hold out for a very long time. And the way that Brent's looking at it and saying this is Earth, well, all that Earth did fill in there. And yes, it is now part of the landscape where at one time it might have stood on its own.
Right. And I've asked them about that. Have you gone? How many places have you found? They found quite a few. And they said there's nothing else on the island that looks like this.
If you look for pyramids in Hawaii, the most that you're going to find are the ones that are off the shore there between the islands, the ones underwater. I have not found any reports of any other verifiable pyramids, in the archaeological sense, that are on the island that are not naturally formed.
Yeah, it's amazing. You got to give them credit too. I mean, they're going out there with cameras in their hands, and they're traversing over very slippery territory, mossy rocks, running water. I mean, it just rained there too. Probably in the morning over there. I mean, what a great adventure and a great find. This is something that they do. So I'm sure we're going to get an update on this. They're going to go back there and see what's on the other side of that.
That's what I was going to ask. Yes, I'd like
to see. They just didn't have time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the jungle itself around, or the wildlife at least, it looks very dense. So, I'm not sure how easy it will be for them to get back there. And that being said, if I was there, the first inclination I'd have is to try to climb up the thing. But that doesn't seem to be very sound either. So,
no, but that's what they're going to do. If there's no way they can get around the other side, he said, because I asked him, I go, is there any way you could have climbed up there? And he says, oh yeah, because he could have grabbed on the vines and pulled himself up, like ropes. They're in there.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I mean, but if you look at this, it's pretty wild. I mean, you could tell it's been there. I think it's, in my opinion, I'm not, one of these people that finds archaeological sites, but in my experience watching a lot of documentaries on pyramids and things like that, I would guess that this is at least 500 years old, minimum. What do you think?
Personally, I'm not great on dating things like this, so I would only be able to offer a speculation, and I really am not educated enough on that subject. So I'll be honest with you, I'm going to take a pass on dating it, other than, thinking there might be some consistencies with other sorts of constructions from other cultures of the time.
What does it look like if you were just to take a guess? I'm like you. I don't know. What do I know? But you have to figure all the growth that's there and the moss. That takes time, man. And to have those tree branches and vines and roots all over it, I don't know, man. They think I don't know. I think they think it's 300-400 years old, maybe up to 1,000. So
with the growth that you mentioned and looking at the forest around, it's okay. I would take a guess saying it's between 600 and 800 years old.
So you're right in the wheelhouse where I think so too. If you take a look at this here, look at all the rocks in the river there. I'll go back, but the rocks And I asked them about that. Another parts of the island, are those rocks in the middle of the rivers like we see here?
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, that's not that uncommon. So I'd like to know if it was here during the Ice Age. No, I do. I would like to see this 10,000 years ago, but I don't think we can go back. But it's Hawaii. It was stuck in the same part of the earth in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I don't think they had to worry about ice or anything like that. It's just interesting. It's a great archaeological find.
Oh yeah.
And you come to a UFO channel and you think, wow, man, UFOs, the paranormal, and then they bring you something like this. This is history, and people are just shrugging it off, I think.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think you're right about that. This is a very groundbreaking discovery, as I had said earlier, for the fact that nobody really seems to know much about this location. And I'm looking forward to Third Phase of Moon bringing more to light on this area and the culture that perhaps might be behind the structure. I do think they can do it. I do think they can do it.
I wonder if it was maybe like Vikings or the Japanese. Did the Japanese build pyramids? I think every culture did, right?
I believe.
Do you know?
So.
I don't know, but
well, I mean,
I think so.
I believe that the Hawaiians are, in some respect, descended from Polynesians. So perhaps an early Polynesian culture might have been there.
They would have had knowledge how to do it. Where'd they get the knowledge? Well, there will be, you know what I mean? There'll be an update on this, I know for sure. So thank you very much for joining me on this and giving an update for everybody. Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal, appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thank you for chipping in on this because it's history and we want to be at the forefront of history as much as we can. So thank you very much. If anybody wants to go visit my channel, it's GoofOn, and Dark Hour Paranormal is Dark Hour Paranormal. From Third Phase, I'm Rich Giordano.
And I'm Michael Roser.
Thank you, Michael. We'll be back next time on Third Phase. Have a good night.